Don't stop.
Hi, thanks so much for joining me in the Everything and Anything in a Bit Gay podcast. I am going through my text messages today. I have become a 20-something-year-old because this is how I believe 20-something-year-olds answer their text messages. So I have nieces and nephews that are all in their 20s. One's almost 30. And they basically do not answer text messages most of the time the same day. It's very much later in the day. And I think it's a generational thing because my generation, except for my friend Jen, most people answer back right away. Jen, I don't know what she does. She is, I don't know. She works from home. She has no children. I don't know. She's busy in her own head. I don't know. She's fucking cuckoo, I think. I don't know what's wrong with her, but she sometimes will go for like a day without writing back. And I could have been like, oh, I just drove off a cliff and I'm stuck on this cliff and you're the only number I can get through to. Can you send an ambulance or a helicopter to rescue me? And she's just like, oh, sorry. I was taking a walk and going to the gym and making cookies today, doing nothing, but I just don't hear back from her ever. So I had to go through my text messages today. I went through and then I got to go through my emails. I'm getting really bad at checking emails. I had over 50 people, or I still do. I have over 50 people in my inbox that are pitching to be guests on my show, which I'm really happy about. Like, I was talking to a friend this week and saying like, I feel so happy because now people are coming to me when to be my show and I don't have to go out and look for people, even though I still do. But now people are coming to me and I can be more choosy on who I want to pick because I have so many people coming and I can talk about things that I really want to talk about. But I try to respond to mostly everybody that sends me an email to want to come on the show to say, yeah, no, I don't think you're a good fit, or yeah, that'd be great. Let's schedule it. And then sometimes I try to schedule it and it's like somebody I really want and then they just disappear and they're gone, or their publicist, I don't know, quits and just I never hear back from them. There's been several people like that they're the perfect guest. I would love to talk with them. And then that's it. They're gone. Never hear from them again. So that happens. But I get messages from people that want to be a guest and they have never ever listened to my show. They didn't read the description of what my show was about. They know nothing about it because the guest they're pitching is like, it's like saying, hey, can I have, would you want to interview Matt Gaetz to be on your show? So he's anti-LGBTQ+. He's a MAGA right-wing Republican. And why would I want to have him on my show? I would have nothing to talk to him about. But sometimes I get pitches like that. Hey, would you want to have this, I don't know, KKK member on your show to talk about how he wants to eliminate all gays in the country? Yeah, no, I don't, because I'm gay. So did you read the description of my show? It's everything and anything and a bit gay. So maybe it's a lot gay. It's becoming a lot gay. But no, I don't want to have a KKK member on my show or people that hate other people. Yeah. So I get these messages sometimes. I'm just like, this publicist is just sending a copy and paste email to a bunch of podcasts. I'm on some lists now and they have no idea. You know what I should do? I just thought of something. I should say, yes, I would love to have them on my show. So have, somebody that's hates gay people and have them come on my show and be like, hey girl, tell me about it. Who's your boyfriend? Like, what gay clubs do you go to? Do you go to gay bar? What's your favorite gay bar? Are you going on to an Atlantis cruise? Are you going to Provincetown this summer? Really gay it up for them. And when are you going to get a facial next? So just really go there with somebody. That might be a funny episode. Maybe I will do that for the next time I get one of those requests. Like, do you want to have this person that has nothing to do with you or your show or any of your beliefs come on your show? Yes, I do actually. Bring them on. Let's talk. Let's talk about Jesus together and Trump and all this. Let's do it all. Let's talk about Charlie Kirk and all of it. So anyway, that's my little thing I'm doing today is going through emails, catching up on text messages, and picking guests for the next couple of months that are coming up. And I did a quick browse, and there's some actually great people that email me, and I hope it works out and I can get them on my show. The guest I have today I loved her. Her name was Kelly Jones, or her name is Kelly Jones. And she was really great. And she is into healing and opening up Akashic Records. And she opened mine up and gave me some guidance and stuff. And I always think this stuff is so fascinating. It's things that I don't know about and past lives and all that. I find it so fascinating. And again, this podcast has made me think differently about what happens whenever, you die. And, I thought you just would die and you're in the ground or you're cremated and that's it. Nothing else happens. But I don't believe that. I believe we do come back. I believe you do see people. I don't believe in the heaven and hell piece, but I do believe that our souls or spirits, probably souls go and you come back. I believe in reincarnation now. So listen to Kelly's interview because she's fantastic and she was a fun guest, and she's the type of guest that I would like to have come back again and talk some more, because certain guests I have, I feel like I could talk to these people every day, or I could do a 2-hour podcast with them. So enjoy Kelly. Leave a message and let me know what you think about, or comment, let me know what you think about Kelly's interview. Thanks for listening. Thanks so much for joining me on the Everything and Anything in a Bit Gay podcast. Today, I have a fantastic guest who is coming from Virginia, and her name is Kelly Jones, and she is a life coach, a healer, an author, a speaker for over 25 years, and she's helping people bridge the human and divine. And I have so many questions for her because I've done some research on her, and I think she's fascinating. So welcome to the show, Kelly.
Thank you. Thank you, Zach. Great to be here.
So I want to start off by kind of talking to you how you got into wanting to help people, I guess, is the big question. That's I think it's such a powerful thing to want to help other people improve their life or find out who they are or find out information about themselves or help them heal or whatever. So what got you to want to do this?
Well, it's interesting, right? We all have our own version of what gets us started actually on, the kind of the overwhelming question, what's my life purpose, right? And a lot of times I'll lead clients back to, where were you at as a child? What interested you then? What was going on in your life? Because it'll help to guide us in that direction. And when I look back for myself, it was 8 years old. And at 8 years old, I wanted to be a therapist. I wanted to help people, right? Because I just saw so much pain and suffering in my family, and I just wanted them to be happy. And I was like, what do I need to do? And somehow I must have heard about therapy. And so then I don't even remember how many years, within years or not very long, I was like, oh, good God, I can't do that. I just cannot be in the same room with somebody for hours, or different people, hours and hours and hours on end, and not see results.
Yeah.
That's what I saw in my family, right? It was like, there's therapy going on, but nobody was changing.
It's all the same. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was interesting because when I got to college, I was at a precipice of do I go into psychology, totally forgetting this, childhood thing that I had in my thoughts. And then I had marketing. So both are kind of like etheric though, right? They're not very grounded in a sense, right? And they're all about psychology. So I ended up doing marketing.
It's so funny you say that because I went to, my undergrad was in psychology. Okay. And I did an internship with I went to school in Miami, and it was like with the county or the city or something, where you had to go to schools and talk to kids that were having issues at home. And, you'd go to their school and bring them into the library and you would talk with them. We had a real a psychologist or a social worker with us as we were doing this. But the first little girl that we did, she was being sexually abused by her grandmother, her father, and her father's girlfriend. And I left there that day knowing that I could not do that every day. And the funny thing is that I went into like digital marketing instead of psychology. So
we did the opposite, but then here I'm doing right. So I just want to be very clear about something, though. That was my experience. It doesn't mean that's what psychology and therapists and all of that. That's a beautiful body of work. I highly respect, right? What they've done. I just had to come at it through a different doorway. And so I ended up coming through the doorway of Akashic Records, which is like allows me to help people from a very different perspective and a different angle that to me is very sacred. And I stumbled upon it. I was teaching feng shui, years later teaching feng shui. And one of my students said, "Can I do an Akashic reading for you?" And I went, "Okay. Who are you and what are they?" Because, right, I've done everything psychic and intuitive and tarot and astrology. And I was like, I've never heard of that. So I don't know that you can do that for me. And I decided to.
So tell my audience what that is, because they may not know. I mean, I know what it is, but I just tell them what it is in your own words.
Thank you. So the Akashic Records are our soul's recording of our every thought, word, deed, action, everything we've ever done, right? It's called The Field. A lot of, there's Lynn Taggart did the book, The Field. And so it's this etheric realm that records everything, and every thought impresses upon it. And it's in our DNA, it's in our astrology, it's in our iridology. We dream in it, etc. We live within it. And we have the birthright to access what our own recording is. So it's when we individuated from source, there was this record. And so a lot of people think, Akashic Records is just a recording of the past, but that's not accurate, okay? It's the past, it's the present, and the potential future as well. One thing that the Akashic Records do that other systems don't do is they don't tell you how somebody else may respond or react to a choice you make. So you can't, for example, go into astrology and go, well, how is this one going to handle that? What's going to happen? Or even that question, right? If I go, so it answers questions, right? It's like going on the World Wide Web and you type in a question. So you go into this World Wide Web of you, of Zach, of Kelly, of whomever, and you ask questions. And I work with these guides called the masters and teachers and loved ones. And they read the records and provide the light language that I interpret into the language I speak, the language I know, so that this responses then become the most helpful and hopeful for you. What do I need to know about my relationship with my boss that just seems like the nemesis of my life?
Yeah.
What's happening with my children? What's happening even in that story that you shared with that young girl? Right? So there's something big, and the records store that information so that we can learn from them, we can grow, we can identify talents and skills from past lives, from this life, etc. Does that help?
Yeah, that does. So the person that introduced this to you, who did your first reading, are you still in touch with them?
No, I'm not actually. Okay. Yeah, no. But I am a teacher.
Okay.
And it's 25 years ago. I studied in 2001.
Okay. Yeah, because it would be interesting for them to know how that impacted your whole life.
I think she did because we stayed in touch for 3 or 4 or 5 years. So, But you're right. You're right. I don't know that she knows the full extent.
Yeah.
Because in my session, my guides suggested that I actually take the class. And it was the farthest thing from my mind. And it became the absolute best decision I have ever made.
And we'll be right back. Okay, and now back to the show. So did it help you with anything, like as it sounds like that your family was going through therapy and stuff growing up. Did this help you kind of clear yourself also and help you heal in a way?
Absolutely. So when this all started happening, I actually started in feng shui, and it started from a divorce, actually a
Okay.
separation, right? And so that's when I was like, I need to heal myself,
Hmm.
right? So it was like kind of like my starting to my awakening, right?
Hmm.
Who am I? What am I really about? I'm not happy. What's going on? And so I was starting with feng shui, and I wanted to help people. I wanted to help myself first, and then it started turning into business. I was like, I can help people through this modality.
Yeah.
And so that started really the journey of helping other people. And then I started teaching for my first master teacher. And that was another way to actually help people know how to do it for themselves. And that's when she showed up, right? And became my catalyst to
Hmm.
actually learning this. And so what I started doing for myself was actually, and it's interesting because there's a combination, and most people in the healing industry and the spiritual industry understand that it can be harder for us to heal ourselves
Hmm.
than it is to help others, right? It's kind of like
Yeah.
the shoemaker that has no shoes.
Yeah.
So it's like, right, there's these journeys that I've gone through. And one of them, for example, is how do I love myself? I didn't understand that I was worthy of being loved. So that was one of my wounds from childhood, right? Through a divorce. It was like, and other things. And it was like, I'm not lovable. And so when I was in the records, one of the things that I really got to recognize and understand was the patience and the love that showed up every time I went into the records. They were always there present, excited, happy I was there. And it was
Mm.
like, wow, this is a very different experience than, experiencing people and they're going through their stuff, right? They're in their own worlds, and, our worlds might come together, but they're doing their thing. They're not necessarily going, Kelly, it's so good to see you. Thank you for being here. How can we love you today?
Yeah.
And that's an amazing feeling, and to have no judgment. So these are markers or aspects of these beings that show up. Can you imagine walking in the room and nothing about you is ever judged?
Yeah. I wish it was like that in real
Right.
and like here on where we are now. It would be an amazing place to live.
Well, and so, right. So when we go into the records and we can have that experience, then we can become it, right?
Yeah.
So when we can become it, then we're, that classic saying, be the change you want to see in the world. I mean, it's, we get tired of hearing it, but the truth of it is right there in black and white, right? So what I've learned and discovered is I'm responsible for my reality.
Hmm.
I can empower myself to change. What the records help me do is to know where within me did I create this so that I can change. And then how do I change? What am I changing? What perspective within me am I shifting so that I can no longer expect you to love me any more than I'm right? If you're not reflecting love to me, then somewhere in me, I'm not loving myself enough. How can I love myself more
Yeah.
today that you're showing me? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Can you think of like somebody that you've helped that shocked you or surprised you in a way where you're like, I can't believe I've impacted them this much?
There's a few of them actually. Let me see if I can pull one in recently. Yeah. So it was interesting. I had a client come and she had scheduled only a 30-minute session, and which is fine, right? But some people, it's like, you need nuggets and then you go
Yeah.
off and you go live your life. And other people do an hour, some do an hour and a half, and that's typically the max. Well, we ended up being together for 3 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was surprised. Like, I haven't done a 3 hour session in a long time. And it was interesting because we touched every aspect of her life. She realized it was like she was ready for real change. And the biggest areas were in her relationships with others, how she was showing up in the world and relating with others, and no longer willing to keep the truth from herself. So a lot
Okay.
of what was coming forward was, here's your part in what you're doing. Here's your part in attracting this partner. Here's your part in how you're attracting this one into your life. And so it was really shifting her back into taking power
Mm-hmm.
of her decisions and no longer, you ready for this one?
Yeah.
Lying to herself.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But what's neat is that the information comes in a way you don't feel judged.
Do you think a lot of people do that where they judge themselves
100%.
or lie to themselves?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then that means, well, if I'm lying to myself, or rather, if I'm not lying to myself, I have to take responsibility.
Yeah.
I was in a gathering the other day, and I heard somebody say, and this is part of what the Akashic Records is very helpful with, because it shifts consciousness, and consciousness isn't easy to shift, right? Because I have to be willing to move into a different view of myself and then take a different stance with myself in order to create a different experience for myself, right? And what this person was saying was, I'm getting texts from a family member and they're bashing me and hurting me. And it was terrible and it was horrible and it was just downright wrong. And then I came to the realization that it wasn't about me. It was all about them. That was their thing. It wasn't about me. And then it was, and this person and all these different experiences that were showing up, and what was going through my consciousness based on all the sessions I've done, based on all the help I've assisted clients in doing, was, what if in fact it's not just them? You're attracting that for a reason. There's something within me that's attracting that experience, and it hurts, no doubt, right?
Yeah.
It hurts and it's painful. But unless I go within and find the kernel of truth within myself that I'm either judging them for, right? Or denying, lying to myself about, right? Unless I go within and see those two things, where I'm judging and where I'm lying to myself, like we just spoke about. Unless I go within, I can't empower myself to change the experience I'm having outside, the outside reality that comes to me.
Do a lot of people need to forgive themselves, though, before they can move forward, though? Is that what it is?
Great job. Right. You're picking up my thoughts here, right? Because there's a forgiveness prayer called Ho'oponopono. And I actually teach a master class on true forgiveness because a lot of people don't understand what it is. But one of the things with Ho'oponopono, most people know, for example, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. Those are the 4 statements of that forgiveness prayer. Most people don't know the first sentence of that is, what within me caused this?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. So yes, right? So when I can look at myself without shame, without self-judgment, then I can be present enough to find out, what do I believe to be true about myself? What am I not loving within myself? And how do I forgive myself for choices I've made, right? Because the world has us believing guilt is a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got you if we got you feeling guilty, whether it's a person, organization, or a society.
But can somebody forgive themselves for anything, or is there limits?
100%. Absolutely everything.
Okay.
And it's interesting. I was in a group, a class, and there was a police officer, and he was getting ready to go to a court. And in the court, he was going to be a witness against somebody who had killed a couple of people. And I think they were children. And granted, I'm not involved relationally with them, so it's easier from my perspective. And I don't know how much it would take for me to move into that forgiveness if it was, right?
Yeah.
So I'm human. I'm healing like everybody else. But I was able to offer him a very different perspective. He was like, well, I just can't forgive it. Could you? And I said, yeah. And it just blew his mind. Because one of the things that I clearly understand is, and I'll back it out in a way, right? It's like, if I talk top shelf, right? If I talk the highest level of consciousness with you, you are me. I can't separate us.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to hate and not forgive in myself what you did, what you're showing me,
Mm-hmm.
then yeah, I can't forgive you. But when I recognize I too either have done it in a past life or have the capacity to do it, then I absolutely can forgive. And prior to that, we might hit compassion. Compassion might say, I can see within you things happened. You're not just doing this just to do it. That's
Yeah.
most. There are probably a few that category doesn't fit. And when I can have compassion, it doesn't mean I have to agree. Just like forgiveness, I don't have to agree with what you did.
Yeah.
And I don't have to be friends with you. And I don't have to stay and hang around you. But I'm going to love you where you are, but take care of me at the same time, right? It's like we're not a good match.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So if you have, let's say you have a friendship that you have been hurt by and you want to get past it.
Great question.
You can forgive them, but that doesn't mean you have to remain friends with them. Is that accurate?
Couple of things. Yeah. The first thing to do is one of the things we're actually doing is forgiving they hurt me.
Yeah.
That's real.
Mm-hmm.
I felt hurt. And we have to take care of our emotional body. We're not like running to forgiveness and like, light up. No.
Yeah.
We have to take care of what's happening with ourselves emotionally. We have to love that part of ourselves that either we didn't love before, nobody else has loved, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, and then we want to go beneath the surface to find out what is it, right? What is it that I believe? What is it that they hurt? That is some part of me I'm actually either rejecting in myself, I'm judging in myself, I'm abandoning myself, I've betrayed, right? All these emotions we've done to ourselves, right? We've all made choices where we go, oh God, right? How do we love that part that made that choice and what was going on so that we can reparent? And that's one of the things that the Akashic Records do, right? They help us to reparent, to actually come to an understanding of why we created what we created and to love ourselves for it. And one of the phrases in my book that I love that they said is, if I had known better, I would have done better.
Yeah.
Period. So when I can forgive myself, and right, we've talked about the hurt, they then become the teacher.
Yeah.
Actually helped me see where I'm not loving myself. You see what I'm saying?
It makes sense.
It's fascinating. It's fascinating. And it can take time. Listen, sometimes it takes years. And that's okay. You know why? Because it takes time for the heart to heal.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to push or force something. We have to be honest with ourselves. There's the honesty piece, right? I have to be honest. If I'm not being honest with myself, then I'm not going to heal. So now when we look at, okay, you hurt me. At first, I'm blaming you. You're the cause of my problem.
Yeah.
And that's going to keep separation. And now that space. So eventually what happens in the separation within the self, that you're my problem versus looking within, that time starts to collapse. And this is where we start awakening, right? We start to, the more we're awakening, the faster we start to see you're my mirror, right? We live in this dance of mirrors. So then we collapse time. So what happens, it's interesting, if we make a misstep in our own energy field, like if I do something, quote unquote, that's out of alignment with myself, it comes back fast. And I'm like, sometimes it's like whiplash, like, oh, right? So, I kind of jokingly say, like, sometimes it takes me 3 seconds, 3 minutes, 3 days, 3, weeks, 3 months, 3 years. Like, and, sometimes it's like that epiphany, you go, oh, that's what I was doing. That's what I was thinking. That's why that showed up in my life, right? So I had an example where just the other day, I took something personally. I hurt myself within 15 minutes of that. And I realized, oh, that hurt was a result of this. So it really like God, spirit, the divine wanted my attention to go, look at this and look
Yeah.
at it.
And we'll be right back. Okay, and now back to the show. Do you think that we go through certain times in our life where, I'll give you an example. So when I turned 50, I went through a cleansing of people in my life. And
Chiron return.
say that again.
It's an astrology Chiron return. So
Okay.
a lot of people will call it like a midlife crisis even, right? It's just like the wound, right? When you come in to heal is really kind of in your face and you're going, okay, I can't ignore it, deny it anymore.
Yeah.
And you might go through whatever. So I'm not surprised to hear this. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, it's actually continued over the last couple of years where I'll just kind of just say it. Like, I don't, it's not that I don't care. I just, I don't need to put up with the bullshit anymore, like of a bad friend who's not giving anything back and who's always taking and stuff. And it's not one particular person I'm talking about. There's just, there's several people that I just cut communication with because I'm just like, you're adding kind of nothing to my life. And I feel really good about it. And at first it took me a little bit to get past it. And now this is where it should be. So, but growing, up until 50, I feel like I would forgive somebody for almost anything, most times. And then something just switched in me where I'm like, I can't have this in my life. I have to, it's not positive for me.
So can I add to that?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I would almost venture, well, I'll say it this way. Instead of forgive them, is it more accurate to say tolerate them?
Did I tolerate them, you're saying, or did I forgive them?
Right, exactly. Yeah. Right. Did you really forgive them or did you tolerate, kind of sweep under the carpet and tolerate?
It's probably tolerate now that you say it that way. I probably have not totally forgiven. I don't think about them really that often.
No, I'm just like, if you look back at that time, right? When you were, not where you're at today, but like in that time, were you actually forgiving them or were you actually more tolerating?
I was tolerating them for sure.
Right. And I think it's important for the audience members, right, to understand like how we language to ourselves. Right, it's words are hypnotic.
Yeah.
We're hypnotizing ourselves, right? So when we slow, the masters and teachers talking about slowing down to move at the speed of love. And it's like, is this real? Is this accurate? And we can only check in with ourselves to know that, right? I'm not here telling you, I'm asking you, right?
Yeah.
So then the other piece, just to kind of reflect on what I've shared already, to bring it into the example you're sharing now. Again, right? We're shifting consciousness here.
Yeah.
Okay? That's what I do. I'm a consciousness catalyst, right? Next level consciousness. And what does that do? That empowers you, right? So if I'm working toward humanity being more powerful in their powerfulness, right? This is important because it takes your power back. It doesn't give your power away to those people that quote unquote did those things to you, right? Yeah. So, for example, looking at them and you saying, and you're sharing, it was they did this, they did this. What is it within you that allowed it?
Yeah. And I'll change my answer. Actually, there's some people I did forgive, not just tolerate.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
Thinking about it now again. So yeah, there were some people I did forgive more.
And may I ask, before we move off that topic, how did that forgiveness play out? What did that mean to you? Right. What did it look like after that?
It's a lot of work forgiving, I think. I'll use a personal example of my brother who, was an alcoholic and drug user and for a long time, decades. And there was a point where I'm just like, I can't have you in my life anymore. And then he ended up going to rehab finally on his own without my parents sending him there. And whenever he wanted to go to himself, and now he's coming up 12 or 13 years clean and sober and has a fantastic life now. But even after he came out of rehab, and I couldn't forgive him right away. Like I was tolerating him at that point still. And because I didn't believe that he was going to stay that way. And I seen all the destruction and the trauma that he brought to the entire family for so long. And it was so hard, but I have forgiven him now. And it's different. I mean, he's a different person now. So
can I ask you a question? I know we're on a personal subject.
Yeah, so, go.
Because it's really interesting, right? Because if we look again at zoom out, right? So to me, my perspective, understanding, you could even call it beliefs, but it's a knowing, even better. At a soul level, the family set up the dynamics.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to play the alcoholic.
Okay.
So you can do this.
Yeah.
So I'm going to learn these things based on these interactions. You, Zach, are going to learn these things. And you're like, at a soul level, you're like, sign me up. Like I'm a kid in a candy store. We get down here, it's a whole nother story. We're like, what the hell was I thinking? Right?
Yeah.
Why in the world would I do this? But at a soul level, we're getting experience. We're getting growth. We're getting surprise. We're getting awe. We're getting all the range of emotions and experiences. So, right, one of the questions that you could look at is, what did I learn? What did I learn about myself? What did I learn about others, my family, my parents, etc., right? What, for example, enabling, right? We might have the experience of what is it to enable? Like I really learned that well, right? And enable, and what came with that is it could be guilt, it could be shame, it could be taking responsibility for someone else, and it's like, and then to unplug, right? Because we're all conditioned socially in some way, shape, or form, and these conditionings are hard to undo, and that's what we're trying to do. And then it feels guilty for doing that, right? It's like self-love, and it's like, okay, am I being selfish or is it selfness? And how do I distinguish and walk that path and not be pulled into somebody making me, trying to make me feel bad, which, by the way, is yet another mirror that somewhere in myself, I don't believe it's okay for me to love myself because you're reflecting it's not.
Mm-hmm.
You get it?
Yeah. It's funny that you said that we're a community, or I'm not quite sure exactly how you phrase it. And then like, he's doing this and I'm doing this. Because I've thought about that so many times in that way, because I have thought like, I feel so lucky that it's not me that was the alcoholic, because it's genetic, right? So I could have easily got that gene, and I could have been in his situation through my life. And I have multiple uncountable times thanked whoever that I didn't have those issues, and I didn't get that gene or whatever. I didn't go down that path.
But you said something really powerful right there, right? Because it's what I said earlier, which is when I'm able to see life as a mirror, right? It's a reflection. Everybody's a reflection of me. You just said it.
Yeah.
You just went, I know I could have been that.
Yeah.
Right? And that's where you go, then how do I just love that part of me that actually could? And then by loving that part of me that actually could have been struggling with that, I can love you now and go, okay, now back to that same point. It doesn't mean that I'm going to go walk that path with you in a way that's unloving to me, right? I have this being loved masterclass also. And a lot of people don't know, right? What does it mean to love myself? When I love myself, I don't put myself in a situation where I'm going from unconditional love to conditional love.
Okay.
And a lot of people don't understand the language of love, right? Language of love is what steps us into mastery and steps us into a place of really being able to love ourselves. And what happens is we move from unconditional love, which means I'm giving, it feels good to me, I'm happy to do it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we bump up against something and we start tipping over into conditional. And now whatever I do from that point over, I'm angry about, I blame you for, I make you my problem, when it was my choice that I wasn't able. And it's like, we don't even recognize it's a choice at first, right? It's conditioning. We just naturally do it. And we keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it, kind of like the friends, right? And it's just like, I keep doing this until I realize every time I go over this step, I'm hurting me. I'm not loving myself.
Yeah.
When I stop here and listen to myself, then I'm like, okay. And well, you're not showing up in a way where I can unconditionally love you and still love me. And so that's okay. We're no longer a match. That's all.
Yeah. You think it's common for people to go through and kind of do this cleansing of people?
Oh, yes. And I think the more aware and the more, I'll use the word spiritual, right? It's spiritual awakening. It's spiritual awakening. You're awakening to your own spirit.
Yeah.
Okay. And most people, we're asleep for a long time and, we're in the rush of every day and all the stuff we have to do.
Yeah.
That we're not in touch with our beingness. I think the children that are being born today are very different. They're getting it a lot quicker and the parents are waking up faster and, the grandparents, and then it becomes a point where you're like, I deserve to feel joy and love and loved. And this feels good and this doesn't feel good. This feels aligned. This doesn't feel aligned. And even if we think about when we're triggered, right? Somebody comes along and triggers us in our life. That trigger is an opportunity to heal something and to make a new choice, to recognize something in me also, right? I had a fear-based interpretation of this experience, and that fear-based interpretation now is leading me to be outside of my center. I've lost my center, so now I need to come back into my being where it's like registering in a calm state. The guides in the book said, go to the place where nothing disturbs you and where nothing can disturb you, the heart. Wow.
Yeah. Tell me about your intuition.
My sense and what others, I've had a friend who is also intuitive and psychic and said at 5 years old, I shut mine down. I think a lot of us did, right? We got it was just, the world out here was really painful. So I was like, okay, I'm just like, I can't perceive so well, right? Because intuition has a lot to do with feeling.
Yeah.
Feeling stuff, right? People talk about being sensitive. I'm feeling everybody's stuff. And there's a difference though, when you start really clearing things, is that you recognize it's not yours and you don't take it on. And so you can still feel it. And then you have that compassion and you have that self-love. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Kind of wrapping a lot in there in that statement. So again, I'll say it this way, when I opened the records for another, for the first time in my life back in 2000. Actually, I studied for myself in 2001. And then in the beginning of 2002, I was learning to read for others. And the first time I opened the records for my friend, I've never done this. I don't think anybody could. I felt like I downed a bottle of champagne in a minute.
Really?
I just was like everything just went wide open for me. And I was like, oh my God, what's happening? I was like giddy. I was seeing stuff like when he was 6 years old and what happened.
Yeah.
I saw him as a soldier. I just saw all kinds of stories and things that helped to shape who he was as a person in that moment. Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is like, it was familiar. It was joyful for me. It was, this is gonna be really good. And intuition, we all have it. And I didn't believe it. I mean, I was told, right, for many, many, many years, oh, you're so intuitive. I'm like, oh, no, I'm not. Like,
Yeah.
and I was mad about it. I was angry that I didn't have access to it. I was like, I don't think so. Like, I was so mad. I had so much anger growing up, right? And so that, of course, that anger blocked it, right? So when we're angry, when we have these trapped emotions that we haven't processed, it's, we got to get through. It's like the diamond, right? You got to pull away a lot of rubble and you got to polish and polish and polish and polish and
Yeah.
polish and keep polishing because you're worth it, right? You're the pearl. So intuition, what else can I answer? Because that was just kind of my story about it.
Yeah. No. So, I mean, I think one of the things you said, I wanted to kind of go into, because I think people are more open to all this now than they ever have been, because I think if you think about, and it's definitely social media, the internet, and the information available to people now that wasn't available,
Right.
25, 30 years ago or whatever. But, as people also, it was religion was so like, it guided people's lives. And so, they would never believe in any of this stuff. They wouldn't open their mind to any of it. So do you sense it, or do you see that people are much more open to accepting this is all what's real now, And I wanted to also ask, after you were able to learn how to do some of this and you taught yourself and help people, did it change the way that you felt about religion?
Oh, yeah, right. Recovering Catholic.
Yeah.
Sure. Oh, yes. Yes. So there are still people that are fearful.
Yeah.
They're afraid that they're going to go against their religion.
Uh-huh.
And there's indoctrination that religions have controlled many. And it's a choice, right? So I remember I just took my mother recently, because she can't take herself anymore, to church. And I remember sitting there and I was looking around at everybody there. And at 19, I felt like it was a cult, interestingly enough. And I was like, did I just say that out loud to my parents, right? It was like, oh my God. I also, at the same time, though, respected people. I thought, you know what? This is a choice you're making. So somewhere it's serving you. And I respect that. And that's okay with me. Now, at the same time, I also can see how confining the beliefs are.
Yeah.
And how some of them, if not a lot of them, are nefarious. I think that's the right word, where it's, trying to control. And it's and I think one of the ways to best self-reflect is, where have I given my power over? Right? Where am I just doing because I've been told to do?
Yeah.
It's expected of me. I haven't given myself a chance to spend time with myself. A lot of people haven't spent time with themselves to go, who am I? Like journaling. Right? It took me years before I would sit down. My mind was so fixed on go.
Mm-hmm.
To sit down and write was like the bane of my existence. I was like, are you kidding? And then when I started, it was like, wow, all of that's coming out of me. There was wisdom, there was insight, there was answer. I was just like, amazing. So definitely I'm coming across, right, there is a whole new world and a very strong movement of people that are all about spirituality and awakening. And, they're listening and looking into aliens and off-planet beings and things where it's just like, we're not the only rock in the planet, in the cosmos that's active and alive. And no. And I find it fascinating. I remember 15 years ago, I'm living in Asheville, North Carolina, and the people that found me would be amazing. I was like, God, you're just incredible. So we do the Akashic sessions, and it's like, oh, I'm from, New Jersey, and I have a farm, and there are, ships and aliens that land in my backyard, a couple of times a month. And I'm like, yeah, of course you found me, because I
Yeah.
see this. I know this to be real. I
Yeah.
have no skepticism about it. And I was even talking with a family member the other day. I was like, well, he was asking me to, I wish I remember the exact subject, but it was past lives. And it was like, well, how do you know? And I was like, I just know. I was like, well, how? And I said, I don't have to prove it to you.
Yeah.
And that becomes a really interesting piece for people to take away too.
Yeah, I'm so, it makes me so excited. And this is one of the reasons why I love doing this podcast, is because I get to talk about this stuff that I like and that I believe. And I just met some incredible people. I had a woman that took me through a past life regression, and these past lives that she took me through is not at all what I thought my past lives would have been. So, which was, it was interesting. And then the funny thing is now that she took me there, I remember more about those past lives than just whenever I was just, talking with her or hypnotized by her. So it's just so interesting. And I think this podcast has also made me think differently about, because, meeting people about what happens when you die, and because, I grew up I probably haven't believed in the religion that I grew up in, Southern Baptist, for a long time, very long time. But, the heaven and hell piece, that's what I grew up with. And, and I just look back and I feel, I can't believe that I even believed that back then. And then that there was, you're talking about aliens, people, in these religions don't believe that because if they did, then everything that they've been taught in their religion would go out the door, because aliens are not part of what they, believe in. So it's all so interesting. I don't know. The podcast has really opened my mind for so many things.
Yeah. Well, even if you look at the Vatican, they have in the library all kinds of documentaries and information on off-planet beings.
Yeah.
I mean, they're here, they're among us, and they're coming.
Yeah.
They're coming.
Hopefully sooner than later.
Oh, yeah. First contact is coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Okay, now back to the show. Before we started the podcast, you talked about my records.
Yes.
How can we get into that? Because I'm excited for that.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So we've already opened your records just to see if there was something you wanted to ask. So you can ask something personally. You could ask something if it's maybe related to your audience and what's something they might want to hear, or your podcast, your business, whatever.
Yeah.
What I want to do is give people an experience, right?
Yeah.
Experientials are really important, and it kind of speaks a language that we can't otherwise touch on.
Yeah, I would love to know what the future of this podcast that I love doing, what it's going to be. Is it going to be something big one day? I'm happy where it is now, but I'm not satisfied where it is now, and I want, I don't want to be. Well, yeah, maybe I do sometimes. I always say I don't want to be the Joe Rogans of the world, but maybe I do. Maybe I would love to have a podcast that I would love. If this is what I was doing full time one day, and because I love telling people's stories, I love talking with people and getting their message out there, and having people that are inspiring, and I love putting all that out there in the world. I try to stay away from politics on this particular show, and not bring in that negativity and stuff. So I think that's my question. Where will this go?
So do you have the ability to communicate with your audience? People who actually listen?
I get feedback sometimes through direct messages, or they'll contact me, and I'll get an email sometimes, but it's mostly through direct messages through social media.
Okay, so the guidance here is about expanding your reach to your current viewers.
Okay.
And engage. There's an engagement piece.
Okay.
Where there's feeding, right? Feeding the interests So what interests them,
Yeah.
that will not, right? So when one has an interest, they typically have a group of which they belong to that hold that same interest.
Yeah.
So it would organically expand and grow.
Okay.
Okay. So it's about bridging the gap between who you are, what you're doing, and who you're interviewing
Mhm.
with your audience.
Okay.
And then that will expand. And I'm hearing, we're talking business here. Newsletter. Do you have a newsletter that you
No,
share?
I did. I had a email that I was sending out, but yeah, I haven't done it in a while.
Right. So it's like a leg, right? It's like here's the podcast, the network that you're creating, and these are the different ways, tentacles in which you connect with people to draw them, to engage them, right? Because what you're doing is actually being in service. You're being in service to others. There's a part of you that feels like it's very much in service to you, which it is, but it wants an outlet.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I look forward to interviewing people, and I really love doing this, and I just want more people to hear it because I think the people I interview are interesting.
Correct. Right. And so it doesn't mean you have to do it yourself. You can farm some of this out as well. Right. Yeah. So let's say you want to write the newsletter. You want it to be in your words, in your tone, in your vibration.
Yeah.
But you don't want to actually be sending it and following up with it and all of that stuff. So you can have an assistant, somebody that actually does that part of the work for you.
Yeah.
Okay. And then feeds back to you, right? The summarization of the responses that are coming forward. Right.
Yeah.
And so then you can start pre-promoting people to go, right, I'll use me as an example, right? Oh my gosh, we got a great guest, Kelly S. Jones, right? She's going to do Akashic Records. She's going to do live stuff. You're going to see it firsthand, right? No pre-interview process taking place. And she's going to be able to do ...
Yeah.
And so now you're getting some excitement behind it. And it starts to show that you are also responding to their requests and their needs. What do you want to know about? What do you want to learn about? How can I serve you in the process of, I'm serving myself too, because I'm having a great time doing this.
Yeah.
And that becomes contagious as well.
Yeah. Right? Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. That last piece was important, they said, for you to hear, right? That it's contagious. And there's something you like that. You like the energy of contagious.
Yeah.
It's like the excitement.
Tell me about how, if someone wanted to work with you, how can they get in touch with you? And is it only in person? Is it online? You've kind of talked about, before we joined, you talked about you have an audio recording on your website. So let's talk about that, because I think a lot of people would be interested in maybe healing or just learning more, or figuring things out. And you seems like you're a great person to help people with all those things.
Thank you. Yeah, I really like helping people when they feel stuck, right? They don't have that clarity, right? They don't feel connected to themselves. They don't feel like they've got clarity on their next best step. And they're wanting, right? It's like my 3 C's: connection, clarity, and coherence. And coherence is where what I think and what I'm saying I want, I'm actually doing, right? I'm coherent, right? So that's a big piece of my work, whether we're just doing not just, but an Akashic record reading, right? And we can do repeated, however that works for you. I do it a la carte, so to speak, right? Yeah. Even coaching. I do energy healing work as well. And my website is kellysjones.net. It's KELLY, S as in star, JONES.net. And they can go on there, or we can hopefully put in the description, right?
Definitely the description of the podcast will be your website or the video, however you're, getting this. I'll put all that in there. And
and they get a free, right, for signing up, they get a free Strategize with Your Future Self. And it's really interesting because, right? Connecting with that part of you that's already wiser, more aware, been there, done that, right?
Yeah.
Able to look back at your present self and help you know what steps to take so it's clearer. So it's really a jump start on your year. It's a jump start on where you're at to getting to where you want to go. So,
Yeah.
and they can sign up right online. I have an online calendar to do scheduling if they would
Okay.
like. I do an exploratory call too. So if somebody's looking for a little bit more hands-on, deeper approach
Yeah.
to go, you know what? I've got a pattern I've been struggling with for years, and I'm ready for this baby to
Yeah.
find the door.
I think a lot of people are kind of feeling misaligned right now, in the world that we're living in, and
Oh,
there's
yeah.
there's a lot of trauma out there, and just it feels more crazy than ever. So I think these, people like you helping people get through that and healing is to me is so important. So people aren't living their daily lives, feeling in distress.
Yeah, exactly. Right. How do we find that calm? How do we find that love? How do we find that peace? Right. The Bible says the peace that passes all understanding. Right.
Yeah.
That means the world can be falling apart and I'm okay.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Most people are going to be stressed out or, right, they're going to be freaking out and running. I mean, I've done it. That's why I know it, right?
Yeah.
I can attest to the work and the results of the work. Once you do the work, you got to do the work though.
Do you ever, I ask this to a lot of people that I interview, but do you ever kind of stop and reflect on all the people that you've helped move forward in their lives, or shifted them, and because
Yeah.
it sounds like you've worked with a lot of people and you've changed a lot of lives for the better, and that's, we need more people like that in the world. Do you ever stop and think about that?
Probably not enough.
You should.
Probably not enough. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
funny. I just had another client the other day. So what I love is that I have many, many, many clients that have been with me for many, many, many years.
Yeah.
And that's a testament in and of itself. So
Yeah.
it's always a pleasure to go, they trust me and they know that even when truth can be hard to say, boy, it's helpful. And so she sent me an email and she just scheduled again. And she goes, boy, I hate it when you're right.
Yeah.
But I reflected and yeah, okay, what is that next step? What am I missing? What don't I see? And it really opens doors. And sometimes, we're busy. We've got a lot going on. And boy,
Yeah.
having that somebody that can help you see through all the chaos and help you get right to, the heart of the matter is critical. And, it's interesting. You asked me like an example, and one is coming with one client is really, really powerful because she was at a crossroads with her daughter.
Okay.
And her daughter was constantly wanting money, right? So it was like every time she turned around, she was asking her mom for money, and my client was the mother. And she was at the point, she was like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
But so at the same time, she had 2 granddaughters. So it's like, I want to stop this, but I don't want to lose this, right? And what happens in our consciousness when we get at those crossroads is we lose sight of options. We don't feel like we have a choice. And when we identify a choice, it's a choice we don't want, right? That's what happens. It's like, oh, I don't like the outcome of that, but I don't like the it's like, So it was fascinating because what came through for her was, what if you decided what feels good for you to give? You say, right? Because you do want to help your daughter, but you don't want to feel I'm at your beck and call with whatever, right? You feel used and abused. I mean, that's just the truth. And so we helped guide her into what feels good to you. And she knew immediately, this amount of money would feel good. And that's it. You don't get to keep coming back. And so I said, well, and it took time, right? And this one, it was not just one session, right? Because this is a mother's heart. You've got grandchildren. You've been doing this a while already, right? And so she was like, okay, we worked through some things, some, fear, some guilt, right? Got guilt. I keep giving because I feel guilty somewhere in me. I believe I'm the result of you asking for this.
Yeah.
I'm your problem, right? So the tables are turned.
Enabling her.
Correct, right? I'm your problem. And then it's like, you start believing the daughter saying you're my problem.
Yeah.
You owe me, right? It's that entitlement.
Yeah.
And so she eventually got to realize it's like, it's like either cut her off or offer her what your heart, right? The unconditional loving part of you is willing to offer and give. And what she really could use and help, right? So you're really helping her, right? It's not you're giving her half of what she needs, but she doesn't, right? But beyond what she needs.
Yeah.
So she did. And it was amazing, right? That was the one thought she couldn't think to do. And I helped her to go, okay, you need to tell her, you don't get to ask me for any more money. I will be here if there is an emergency.
Yeah.
And we all know what an emergency is, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, I'm bleeding, I'm dying, that kind of stuff. I mean, there's emergencies. That's a different story. And it was fascinating because not only did it work, right? The daughter stopped asking. She gave room and space for her brother, the uncle, to actually teach her how to budget.
Wow.
Yeah. See, so what happens is in our guilt and our shame and we're taking up space and blocking something that can be beneficial from even showing up. And we're thinking, like, okay, here's the thread of thinking for that, right? Because somebody comes and asks me, I have to help. That's the belief.
Yeah.
Right? I am my brother's keeper, no matter what. Right? And we'll even say like your brother, right? It's like somebody has to really want the help to get it. And if you are the right person, you'll step forward. And if you're not, it's important for you not to take the place of somebody that it's the right thing for them.
Yeah.
It's hard for us to see this. And that's, I think, part of what I offer, right? I help people see what they can't see yet, so they can make a decision that's choosing to love themselves, which ultimately ends up loving the other.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, you've been a fantastic, I could talk to you for about 6 more hours probably. So thank you so much for being on. I think you'll get lots of people that are going to be interested in connecting with you.
I hope so. Yeah. I love to serve.
Yeah. So thank you so much for being on, Kelly. And if this episode resonated with you and you think somebody else would want to hear what Kelly's talking about, please share the episode and leave a comment and reach out to Kelly and leave a comment and tell us how it went if you reach out to Kelly. So we would love to hear some success stories. So thank you again for being on, Kelly. It was great meeting you.
Thank you, Zach. Lovely being here.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Blessings to you all.